The second day, Rakia, firmament versus expanse. Shamayim, heavens, heaven, sky. Welcome to Milk and Honey, September 16, 2020. Our daily prayer for all of us. Hear now and do, Yasharel. Yahuwah our Elohim. Yahuwah is one. And you shall love at Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and all your soul and with all yourself. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Blessed are you, Adonai and Elohim, King of all time, for giving us victory over the evil one. The second day. Shalom, saints, in the name of the most precious Yahushua HaMashiach. Today I hope to share my walk with the Most High Elohim with you. May we grow together in our relationship with Him. The recap of the first day. Remember that Elohim was hovering above the waters of the deep, and it was darkness in the beginning. Then He created light. He separated the light from the darkness, and He named the light day, and the darkness night. And night and day was the first day. Now I have something about that first day also, but we will recap that as we connect the dots in the future. In this slide, we will look at Genesis 1:6 and 1:7. This is the second day that we're going to be highlighting on, and we're going to zero in on the word firmament. In Genesis 1:6 it reads, "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And in Genesis 1:7, God shows you where He even puts the waters in reference to the firmament. And it reads, "And God made the firmament, and He divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so." Just a side note here. Do we recall in the Bible where saints and prophets and even when they describe the angels' voices and they describe our Yahuwah's voice, and they always say it's like a rolling thunder of water or a river. So let's think about that. Above the firmament is water, and below the firmament, which is water. Now, He also names the firmament heaven. So that are in the next verses that you can study on your own. And take note what heaven means. And we will get that in the next slide. So I took the definitions off my survey. You can do some more studying for yourself. Rakia, which is Strong's H7549, defines it as properly an expanse, for example, the firmament or apparently visible arch of the sky, the firmament. So something like solidness, rakia. But when we define firmament in the noun, literally it means the heavens or the sky, especially when it regarded as a tangible thing, a highlighted tangible thing. Tangible means something solid or something close to something you can at least touch that's not gaseous form. The expanse, there are different Bibles that would like to use expanse versus firmament, but this is what the definition that I found what expanse means. A noun, an area of something, typically land or sea. Now we're still looking at something that is tangible in the way I see it, presenting a wide, continuous surface, which is interesting. Now, Elohim called the firmament, here again, what I said, heaven. He called it heaven. And in the Ivrit or the Hebrew word is shamayim. A shamayim is one of those words like deer, where it's either singular or plural, like one deer, two deers. We wouldn't say deers, one deer, two deers. It's two deer. We can identify this in the context of how we use the word within the sentence. I also have a side note here in the uh, NIV Bible. It calls the firmament a vault. And when I looked up the word vault, it says it as a noun, it's a roof, once again tangible, in form of an arch or a series of arches, typical of churches and other large formal buildings. Now, I have a lot of on that, but again, we can touch upon that subject later. But arches on a roof. Now, I always wondered why the churches had arches, so we will continue and stay focused on the firmament in this lecture. No, not even a lecture, excuse me again, in this walk. On this side, we're going to see some Bible verses that look at the firmament as something solid, maybe a gel. We're going to look at Genesis 7:1 and 8:2, Ezekiel 1:22, Job 37:18, Psalm 148:4, and Genesis 1 and 20. So it might behoove you to pull out your most favorite Bible and follow along as the preceding slides we will discuss. Genesis 1:7 and 8:2. It kind of shows us back in the Noah days that the waters were actually held back with a gate. So let's see what it reads. Genesis 7:1 reads, And Yahuwah said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Genesis 8:2. The fountains also of the deep, here it is, a deep again, and the windows of heaven, more than one windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from the heaven was restrained. Interesting. Something came to me just now. Remember, God says man will not live by water and bread alone, but by every word of the living God. So every word of our precious Yahuwah, who is Almighty, the Great One, Lord of hosts and God of Israel, every word that he speaks is life, has meaning more, I think, more than one. When we start walking with him, he will open up your mind. It's more than physical. It's more than just spiritual. It's more than the intenses, because you have to pay attention to tense of the word that when we translate it, and I mean like past, present, and future. But when our Yahuwah, our Elohim speaks, it combines, seems like all of that, which is for us edifying, glorious, wondrous, and beautiful. So if anybody's hearing this or reading this or following along, which I hope that if you're not quite sure that you want to believe the Lord, I hope these lectures, I always like to say lectures, but this walk, I would more like to say, this walk with our Elohim will help you change your mind. And I pray for all the souls of God's people that he has chosen to save. And I guess we'll just continue on. Sorry about that. I did a tangent there. Must be age. Ezekiel 1:22. In Ezekiel 1:22 it reads, And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of a terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. So now he's describing the creatures that serve the Lord, and there's a crystal. Once again, it's solid. He's not describing anything gaseous like a cloud. He is describing a terrible crystal that actually sat upon their head like a crown. In Job 37:18, which it reads, Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass? So he questions that. Haven't you seen that he stretched, that Yahuwah has stretched out the sky? Isn't it like a molten looking glass that you can see through, but it's solid again? Once again, solid. Solid, and not in the sense I think we understand it, because if you go back to Genesis and you read, we'll get ahead of ourselves, but when he actually sets the sun and the moon and the stars, he sets it in the firmament, or the heaven that we understand. Now, heaven being singular and plural becomes very important in in-depth study, and I'll hit upon it a little bit in its future slides. Psalm 148:4 reads, Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that are above the heavens. So he named our firmament heaven. And apparently, if you do a little more studying, you will understand that there's more than one heaven, and there are different levels of heaven. And what our heaven is compared to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and seventh heaven is different. But nevertheless, it's heaven as our Yahuwah has defined heaven. Now understand, as you can see, it says the waters that are above the heavens. So the heavens being a firmament, and if you got 7 of them, above that we have waters. That's important too. If you can see, you start connecting the dots. Yahuwah is beautiful. And you can see that nothing God says is false or a lie. Genesis 1:20. And it reads, And Elohim said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open expanse or firmament of the heaven. So he wants to, Yahuwah apparently to me wants to open up our minds and get a reference to what the firmament is. And it actually has an area that is open, that is not as solid, where the creatures may fly around, like birds can fly around, which I think what we call sky. See, that's what he tells us it is. So he says there's the firmament of the heaven. It's an open area with of the firmament that the birds get to fly around. We fly around, etc., etc. So I've heard a lot of people talk about cosmetology and all of that. The one thing so far in my study with Elohim, he hasn't shown me. He mentions distance in the following books that we'll talk about, but he never tells you exactly how long it is so we can references. But once again, I said, even if he did, after walking with our Father, you will notice that He's always speaking more than just physical. He's speaking more than just spiritual. He's speaking more than just past, present, and future. So that's what makes the great I am, the great I am. In this slide, what I was previously talking about, there's a book called the Apocalypse of Abraham, or also some people known as the Revelation of Abraham. This book is, I recommend people to read. This is when you leave the milk, which is our Holy Bible, our history of the saints, and you're ready to take on food, which is the honey that Yahuwah through Yahusha is providing us. And all of these are opening up to the saints. Now these were available to other nations, but we were blinded. His peculiar people were blinded up to this time. In our time, people say, well, other people knew about these hundreds, maybe, years ago. But that's still a short time. Now he is pouring knowledge out like water, so more people and more people um, are allowed and are allowed to wake up, and I hope even more people. And I hope this is, like I said, this walk is just to help other people study. I'm not going to be 100% correct because only Yahuwah is. So if you have questions, always pray first to Yahuwah through Yahusha. He is the way. That's why he says follow him. How he prayed to the Lord, he prayed always, constantly, daily. And that's how you get your answers from Yahuwah. Keep your inner heart and inner ear open, because he can come with an answer through a TV set, a friend, a whisper, a thought, anything. But you will get your question answered. It might even take 1, 2, 3 years, but you'll remember you had questioned him, and you'll be like, wow, he just answered me. So I get a lot of those, and I thank Yahuwah for considering my prayer. So let me go ahead and read an excerpt from chapter 9 of the Apocalypse of Abraham. If you Google search it, you'll come up with books and authors. So I just figured, since we're just walking and you're walking with me, I hope that you will do your own study to grow and get your honey along with your milk with our most precious Yahuwah. Yah calls on to Abraham. Yah being the short form of our Yahuwah, the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto Abraham, and said, quote, consider the expanses which are under the firmament on which thou art now placed. And while he was yet speaking, and lo, the expanses open, and beneath me the heavens, and I saw upon the seventh firmament upon which I stood a fire wildly extends, and a light, and a dew, and a multitude of angels, a power of invisible glory over the living creatures which I saw. But no other being did I see there. So once again, we are given the word firmament. And as you can see, a firmament was where he was placed on. Now, Abraham at this time is ascending up. So he might have changed form, and he might have not been solid, but still, the Father shows us that there's an expanse under the firmament. So the firmament in itself alone is a different form of matter or non-matter, how you want to look at it, but it's different from the space that's underneath it. That's what I understand. That the firmament is like a boundary or the looking glass. It is different. People like to fight it. There's just too much evidence to show that the firmament, the heaven, or the heavens, because each one has a firmament, is different from any kind of space that we understand. Like he says, in the expanse and the heavens were opened up. Now, once again, we have to understand that in the firmament, he placed the stars, the sun, the moon in our firmament, and apparently in the other firmaments or the other heavens, there are different things that our Yahuwah had placed, the Almighty. Blessed is he, and all praises to Yahuwah. Another book that I recommend, once again, you can Google search, or I kind of referenced the one I was using, the Ascension of Isaiah. Yes, our prophet Isaiah had wrote this, and he actually mentions this book in his chapters If you look it up, he says that we won't even recognize this as being part of what he prophesies to the saints. It's really deep. It talks about the different firmaments, heavens, what happens to him, gives you a lot of insight, which is another walk I would like to do to you about spirit, Satan, man. And so, but that will be for another day, as the Father sees, as He moves me to put whatever He would like to put down. But once again, the review of the contents of the like aforementioned book will indicate that the firmament is definitely something more solid than just a space. So take a closer look at the ascension of Isaiah in the future, and a different walk would be prudent here. So that brings us to the conclusion of today's walk. I would like to hope and pray that this was just a little bit eye-opening for some, if not bring a curiosity that you will start to walk, saints and those who are called by our Father in heaven. A lot of things are going on this earth. Remember during the days of Noah, a lot of people say, why hasn't God done this so quickly? Well, Noah was building the ark for 120 days. In the last 7 days, he was shaking the earth violently in storms because he wanted the people to wake up and repent. Because of the bottom line, if you read all the books, all the chapters, every other book that the people don't even want to consider as his holy words, he always says this: he wished that people would come to him. What a loving Father. That's why they say his mercy is everlasting. He's just waiting for his children, what he's created, to come to him. And that's what brings tears to his people's eyes. So people, I hope for though we repent, you keep running the race, like our Yahusha has said, run it to even unto death, so that you can receive the crown from our Father in heaven. So you can be with him, so you can see glory, so there is no more tear, death, pain. You don't have to hunger, you don't have to feel evil, you don't have to envy, there's no fighting. And people say, well, that's boring. I don't know how they can say that when our Father is a creator. And if he's a creator of this, how much wondrous will it be to be with him in his glory, unimaginable. And the ones like Isaiah, Enoch, Elijah, Abraham, all that have been there, say his glory is beyond what they can even describe, and that's just one of his angels. So, shalom, friends, until next time, friends and family.